Operation 10-4. We are going to talk about that anniversary again here today. Welcome to a wonderful, here it is. Here it is. A wonderful, beautiful, beautiful Monday morning on We Will Not Comply. We will not comply. We are live. We are live here from the America First Media Campus, and we are ready to talk about a couple of things today. A lot of things to talk about in the next hour, 7 to 8 p.m., 7 to 8 a.m. It is Sunday. I am all over the place this morning. I'm so sorry. It is Monday, October 4th, and it feels like fall is in the air. It's a little chilly this morning. It's a little humid this morning, and I'm tangled up here. What is going on here? There it is. Sorry about that. It is a chilly, but a little humid, a little muggy this morning. But hey, I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's there's it's pretty nasty out there. Not weather-wise. It's pretty nasty out there in the political agenda, in the political arena. It's pretty nasty out there watching what's happening in Washington, watching what's happening on the Hill, watching what's happening. And good morning to everybody who's hopping into the chat, but watching what's happening in the House. As my Republican representative in Congress decides whether or not he wants to vote for the infrastructure bill. As we are less than a month until New York votes in another election. So we have a lot that's going on and a lot that is on the clock. I've got some stories today, some good stuff. We'll enjoy it a little bit, but I got to tell you, the left and the liberals and a lot of these people dealing with it yesterday. Looking at a bunch of things today, this morning, looking at a bunch of things over the weekend, over last week, watching as a radical left-wing spending bill, $3.5 trillion. Let's just close our eyes on this one, and let's imagine that number one more time. 3.5 trillion. I feel like I'm on a game show. $3.5 trillion. Incredible. And holy hell. And good morning. So shout out to Jackie's sister. Happy birthday, Candy. Happy birthday, Candy. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. It is totally absurd out here today as we let the chat populate. Fresh off of a Jets win yesterday. Wow, I can't believe I watched the New York Jets win yesterday. That was interesting. Got the coffee. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. They say that. You know, I like Folgers. I like Green Mountain a little better, but Folgers ain't bad. Good morning to everybody. You see the whole crew is jumping into the chat here, and I like it. So let's get to talking. So 1 year ago today, what happened 1 year ago today? What happened 1 year ago today in New York City on Fifth Avenue? What happened? Does anybody remember? 1 year ago today, on Fifth Avenue in New York City, a very large number of cars, trucks, and other vehicles, but basically cars and trucks, came rolling down Fifth Avenue, and we came to a stop. And we came to a stop right there in front of Trump Tower. What did we do last year on October 4th, Operation 10-4? Donald Trump was in the hospital with COVID. We were getting our rallies fired up. And we went into New York City, and we didn't just go into New York City with a rally. We went into New York City with about 7 or 8 truck beds full of food. You say food. You brought food to New York City? Why would you do that? Because we wanted to prove, and we continue to prove, to the left, to the haters, to the media that can't stop lying, to people like the SPLC, who decides not the loud majority is a hate group now. You know, when you're on the SPLC's radar, now they're an awful organization, but when you're on their radar, it's kind of means we're making some noise, right? We took the food into and out of New York City into Long Island City, donated it to a food pantry that services and helps out children of incarcerated parents. And what happened? We were doxxed. We were called a hate group, but you know what? We still did it. And we did that a year ago today. 1 year ago today. And then a year ago tomorrow will be the first time that Facebook started taking down our groups. The censorship started because you know what? We were making too much noise. We went to New York City a year ago today, and now a year later, we're looking at New York City because there's a big vote coming up. There's a huge vote coming up on November 2nd. The mayoral election. Curtis Sliwa versus Eric Adams. And it's not going to be an easy race, but we never say never, and we always play to win. So happy anniversary of Operation 10-4, because a year ago today, we did more for her district than AOC has ever done in her entire time in Congress. We took a pallet of water to St. Patrick's Cathedral a year ago today as well. Only a year ago today. Operation 10-4. Feels like it was yesterday. But it was last year. And it was a good time. You know, we stopped in front of Trump Tower. People were dancing in the street. Shut down the busiest street in Manhattan for a good hour. Hey, whose streets? Our streets. So happy anniversary of 10-4. And welcome to the chat, everybody. Good morning to everybody out there. Good morning to everybody in the chat. And good morning to everybody watching. This is We Will Not Comply. I'm happy to see you guys here today. And we got a lot to talk about. Listen, the Biden regime is failing in every accord. They are failing in the court of public opinion. They are failing to pass legislation, which is good for us. Trust me, we don't want them to pass legislation. But they're failing. And they're failing among key voters. And this is the big item. This is the big deal that I want to talk about first. You know, you mentioned the left. And you think about the Democrats. And you think about liberals. And you think about the media. And what do they always say? What do they always say? I was dealing with some of this crap on Instagram last night. You know, I was dealing with some of this crap. They go, "You're racist. You are a race. You might as well be in the Klan. You're racist, right? You're intolerant. You're a bigot. You're transphobic. You're something. You're istophobic." Dan Bongino, the great Dan Bongino. You're an istophobic, phobophobic, istophobic, phobophobe. Interesting, right? Well, I don't know if that's all necessarily true. Maybe Biden's a racist too. Although we think, you know, Biden probably is a racist when you think about it. He said he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle. He told black people that people were going to put them in chains. Right? Remember that? Who remembers that? He told a black man on a live stream that if you don't vote for him, you're not actually black. Geez, I didn't know Joe Biden had that power. But these politicians think they're divine. These politicians think that they're holy. These politicians think that they have some sort of supernatural power, that they can just declare things and say things, and that's just the way it's going to be. Kathy Hochul, be my apostles. Joe Biden, come on, man, you ain't black. Bernie Sanders, $3.5 trillion is not enough. Well, Joe Biden's approval rating among black voters has plunged more than 20 points in a single month. Gee, I wonder why. Well, let's read it. It'll be in the show notes. Go ahead, check it out if you're listening on the audio version of the podcast, and that's going to be on We Will Not Comply. That is on any of your podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere you get them. Or you can go to wewillnotcomply.podbean.com. Also, head over to our website, officialloudmajority.com or loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You'll get the show notes. You'll get any updates that we have coming up, events coming up. You know, we're 2 weeks away from going back to Montauk. It's going to be a great time. October 17th, Seaford train station. We're starting there, meeting there at 8 o'clock in the morning, leaving by 10 a.m., and going all the way back out to the end on Sunday, October 17th. Next Saturday, October 9th, is the March for Life. March for Life, New York. A good friend of mine, Pastor Joni, is putting that together. Again, she does it every year. She does a fantastic job. So head on down to the Dennison Building next Saturday, October 9th, for March for Life, New York, which I am honored and happy to have been asked to be a part of and will be a part of. And I cannot wait for that event next Saturday, March for Life. So Build Back Better. The latest Associated Press NORC poll numbers. Now, again, Associated Press, left-wing fact checkers, generally not as kind to conservatives as they are to liberals, but sometimes facts just get in the way. These poll numbers were released yesterday, and the news wasn't very encouraging for President Joe Biden or his supporters. Following several weeks of consistently bad headlines, it would seem that people are beginning to sour on the Build Back Better presidency. This poll has consistently been a bit kinder to Biden than some of the other major polling outfits. And that was once again the case this week. The report from the AP also seems to try and paint a somewhat more charitable picture. But the reality is that Biden's numbers are down across the board. But the decline we're seeing isn't coming from Republicans and conservatives who weren't too wild about Uncle Joe. To begin with, the dips are coming from his own party and the demographic groups that have traditionally been the most supportive of him. Ladies and gentlemen, black voters, the African-American community, the black community is souring on Joe Biden, and they are souring on the Democrats. I have another article that's going to go in tandem with this. Give me 1 second until I get to that. We're going to go through this one first. President Joe Biden's popularity has slumped after a slew of challenges in recent weeks at home and abroad for the leader who pledged to bring the country together and restore competence in government. Now, that's a funny one because government isn't competent. Dan Bongino again. If government is so competent, why are they incompetent? If government does things well, why can't they do anything well? If government doesn't flat out suck, why does government suck so much? 50% now say they approve of Joe Biden, which, by the way, is, that is a complete lie. 50%? Where the hell are these people? You're going to tell me that 50% of the country? Now, I know this is only 50% of the people polled, but you mean to tell me, because this is supposed to represent the entire country, you mean to tell me that 50%, that half of this country is happy right now? 50% say they approve of Biden, while 49% disapprove. 54% approved in August and 59% did in July. So the numbers are obviously heading in the wrong direction for Sleepy Joe. The results come as Americans process the harrowing and deadly evacuation from Afghanistan, mounted Border Patrol agents charging at Haitian refugees, the unshakable, and again, this Border Patrol story with the whips. The whips. Oh my goodness. They're whipping the Haitians. They weren't whipping the Haitians, ladies and gentlemen. They had reins. They were steering their horses. Oh my gosh. These people, they came up to me. They beat me up. They put a noose around my neck, and then they screamed, "This is MAGA country." Remember Jussie Smollett? Remember AOC? I was fearing for my life. The insurrection. She wasn't even in the building. Remember that? Remember Bubba Wallace, NASCAR? Because, there was all that stuff going on, George Floyd. So he had to capitalize on it. He's one of those I would call a race grifter. Because Bubba Wallace isn't good at driving the car, so he had to get into the news somewhere else. There were nooses. There were nooses in the garage. They were garage pulls. I just whispered like Biden. They were garage pulls. You go, you pull it down, so the door comes down. Oh my goodness, they're on every single garage door. And then the FBI came over and they investigated that. And so the FBI spent more time and more more diligently investigated garage pulls than they did trying to find Brian Laundrie. What a disaster. The priorities in this country, the priorities of the institution in this country. Look, oh my gosh, we have to go look at all the January 6th protesters. And there's a Lego set. They were planning the insurrection. So is every child? If a child has a Lego set of Mount Rushmore, are they planning to bomb the mountain, FBI? I'm just asking. Because I really want to know what the is going on. This is sick. This is sick. But back to the article, because I'm done. I don't like to. I've been doing all that stuff here. So AP NORC still has Biden at 50-49, while the majority of polling outlets are showing him being underwater. As I said, that's probably par for the course. But it's a very low number to drop to this soon in a presidential term. Support among Democrats is still strong, but it dropped from 92 to 85%. The AP described this as having dipped slightly, but they curiously applied the same label to his support from the critical category of independent voters. That's one area where Biden actually cratered, falling from 62% approval rating among independents to 38% among independents. The only party demographic where he stayed the same was with Republicans, where he has the same 11% support he had last time. And ladies and gentlemen, 11% of Republicans, first of all, I think that's a lie, but 11% of Republicans, I know who some of those Republicans are. Mittens, Andy G. Andy G. No show Garbarino, that guy. The one who doesn't show up to anything, finds his way into Congress, that guy. Yeah. He shows up when he has to vote to take guns away. He shows up when he has to try and vote for $3.5 trillion infrastructure. He hasn't done it yet, but I have a feeling, he shows up to vote for January 6th commissions. He doesn't show up to actually help his district, though. I don't even think the majority of his district has even seen his face. And by the way, you're not missing much. Let's just say, what do you think about Andrew Garbarino? He's not easy on the eyes. What do you think about it? He should look into Tom Brady and maybe some of those hair plugs. But anyway, the real eye-openers came with the shift in support among racial lines. Because, the Democrats love to play identity politics. And eventually this is going to come back to bite them in the you-know-what. It's going to bite them in the you-know-what's going to bite them right in the backside. They're going to have a huge bite mark on their rumps. Because I'll tell you right now, identity politics only works if you actually help the people you're identifying. If you're telling me you want to be a pro-black politician, and you want to advance the black community, and you want to help the black community, and you're going to help the black community, and Republicans are racist, and they're not going to help the black community, but us, the Democrats, the liberals, we're here for you. We're going to help you. If that is the track that you're going to take, if that's the ideological path that you're going to take, you better help those people. And I'll tell you right now, nobody is better off right now. And black people are getting pissed. Biden is doing slightly worse with white voters, falling from 49 to 42%. But with black voters, one of the key demographics he relied on in 2020, his support absolutely tanked, dropping from 86% approval to 64% approval among black voters. It's hard to imagine this being attributable to much beyond his vaccine mandates and protests against those policies coming from Black Lives Matter. If Joe slips much further and actually goes underwater with black voters, he can pretty much forget about any future election chances. No Democrat can survive with those sorts of numbers. And it's true. So why would black people be so upset with Joe Biden? He doesn't use racially insensitive language. He doesn't have bad media coming after him, calling everything he did racist. You know, oh my goodness, Joe Biden sneezed the other day, forgot to say God bless you. He is a racist. He doesn't have all that. He doesn't have fake race hoaxes coming out about him. Remember the fine people hoax? Donald Trump called white supremacists fine people. No, he didn't. Read the actual Charlottesville transcript and you'll find out what he said about white supremacists, where he unconditionally says he condemns racism, bigotry, and violence. Where, by the way, I have said the exact same thing on a number of live streams, and I know the liberals watch me. I know they watch our stuff. I know they stalk our pages because they have to make crap up about us, right? They have to make things up. They got to say, oh, my goodness, they were handing out, what was it? They said they were handing out propaganda at the America First warehouse. You know, and I spoke to the writer, I spoke to Craig Schneider about that, and I'd never seen those quote-unquote pamphlets, and I finally got a look at them, and I said, wow, I don't know where the hell those came from, but we didn't do it because we don't hand out pamphlets. We never have. Why? Why are they doing? Why are black people so unhappy with Sleepy Joe Biden? Hey, in the chat over there. Good morning, folks. Why do you think that black people are unhappy with Sleepy Joe Biden? Could it be the mandates? Could it be the vaccination mandates? Maybe it is. But you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't be critical of the vaccine. You're anti-science. You're going to kill people. Man, I'm feeling a certain way today. Good morning to Joe DeBox in the chat. So you look at New York City. I'm going to go to the next article, and you can check this out in the show notes. Again, we will not comply, podbean.com. You can check it out. And you can check out the show notes. It's on our newsletter. You sign up for the newsletter. We get you the show notes when I put the episodes up so you can listen to this on your own time and read along with the show notes as well. Good morning to everybody in the chat still who are jumping in. Love to see you on this. Well, it's a little bit of a dreary morning, but hey, the Jets won yesterday, so it's it's a little weird. And the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, he beat the Emperor Palpatine, Bill Belichick last night. New York City restaurants suffer 40 to 60% losses under de Blasio's vaccine mandate. Oh, really? You know, when New York City has a very dense minority population, especially African Americans, and you have somewhere around 75% of African Americans in New York City are unvaccinated for whatever reason. Maybe they're afraid of it because they don't trust the government because of what history will have proved to them. Maybe they don't want it because they don't want it. And that's a good enough choice. I don't want it. They don't want it. Maybe that's why. Maybe they just don't want to be told what to do by a senile old man who's clearly walking around in Depends every day. This whole thing that we're dealing with, this entire thing right now, watch the media. They are lying to you every single day, all the way to the point, right back to where Joe Biden's getting his booster shot, and it makes it look like it's happening in the White House, and it happened on a goddamn set. This whole thing is a lie. This whole thing is a charade. A massive gaslighting campaign. They're lying to you. The media is lying to you. Ladies and gentlemen, the media is not your friend. The media is not your friend. Yes, I have a good relationship with a couple of writers in our area. Yes, I've gone on a lot of media, but I will tell you right now, the media is not your friend. And you know who I'm talking about. Not just CNN, not just MSNBC, not just your Fox News or your TV channels or some of your newspapers. I'm talking about every single bit of left-wing media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, anybody who can't just objectively let things happen and have to push an agenda like that. The media is not your friend. New York City restaurateurs are speaking out against the city's proof of vaccine requirements for in-person dining, which has disadvantaged local businesses. Shocker. When you deal with New York City, who has a very, like I said, dense minority population, and among that population, you have a very large portion of that population are African Americans. 75% of African Americans in New York City, number might be a little bit lower now, but still there's a very large number of African Americans in New York City who are not vaccinated, which means thanks to Sleepy Joe Biden's new Jim COVID laws, a very large number of African Americans in New York City are not allowed to participate in basic societal activities like eating, like drinking, like going to the movies, like going to a Broadway show, going to indoor events. If you're an unvaccinated black person in New York City, you are not a member of New York City society. You think they're going to appreciate that? Did you think that was going to go over well with those folks? Did you think that was going to go over well with anybody? Did you think they were just going to line up and get their shots? Of course they thought that. You know what? They absolutely thought that. The left absolutely thought that by issuing these mandates, minorities would just line up and get their shots. You know why? Because they think you're stupid. Because they think, the left thinks that minorities are still on their plantation. The left thinks that minorities are still their slaves. That's what's really going on here. So sure, you're not in a field. You're not picking cotton. Sure, this is not slavery as it was previously defined, as they'd previously experienced. But make no mistake, folks, if you are a member of a minority community, the left absolutely views you as a slave, and they are going to view you as a slave until you walk off of that plantation, ladies and gentlemen. Listen very closely to what I am telling you. This is the soft bigotry of low expectations. The left does not think that black people, Hispanic people, anybody, any people of color, so to speak, what you want to call them, right? The left does not believe that anybody in the minority community can make their own decisions. They don't believe you're educated enough. They don't believe that you have the capability to make a smart decision without their input. And they do not believe that you can be trusted. They do not believe that you can do a damn thing without Sleepy Joe Biden saying, yep, go ahead. They got to sign off on every single decision that you have to make. The left, while they paint us as the racists, while they paint us as the people that are not being nice, that are not being favorable to minorities, when all we have preached is inclusion the right way, not the DEI garbage that they're shoving down the kids' throats in these schools. All we have preached is that every life matters all day long. And when we say every life matters, we're not saying no, black lives don't matter, every life matters. No, we're saying yes. Of course, Black Lives Matter because every life matters. But that does not work well for the left. They cannot adopt that message because they have to divide. There's a reason why they don't just say stop hate. They have to say stop Asian hate or stop this hate or stop that hate, because they have to divide everybody, because the longer they do that and the more successfully they divide everybody else, the easier it is to conquer. Look at what happened in 2020. And now you have this government on the precipice of passing a $3.5 trillion spending bill. Where the hell is this? A, where the hell is this money coming from? B, where the hell is this money going? And shout out to Digi right there in the chat. Reject the hate. Oh, old school. Man, you're bringing me back. And I see someone here, D. Smith, saying, yes, the left is also racist against white people, which is a possible thing. You know, you can't be racist against white people because white people are all racist. So you can't be racist against racists. Ass backwards thinking, I'll tell you. But New York City restaurants are seeing a 40 to 60% decrease in business under Bill de Blasio's vaccine mandates. And you know what? You're seeing minority communities absolutely shunned from society right now because they don't want to get a vaccine. And it's disgusting. Quote, "We don't have the money here to survive without the help of our landlord, who has been very supportive and has been giving us breaks on the rent. But without our landlord, we would not be in business," commented Fergal Burke, the owner of an Irish pub and restaurant in the Times Square area. Our business is definitely down 50. I'm going to say 60%. There are just no people coming into the restaurant. They have a fear of being asked for vaccines, continued Burke, adding that many potential customers blame his business instead of the government for the vaccine mandates, according to the Epoch Times. You want to talk about uninformed? You want to talk about uneducated? These businesses are being forced to ask people to show papers because it is the government that is making them do it. Which leads me to the term systemic racism. Let's talk about systemic racism one more time, because I love to say it. It's a nice talking point. It's one of my favorite things I'm on to say. Liberals are insane, aren't they? Chat. Let's go to the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, how many people in the chat think that liberals are insane? Tell me right now. How many people in the chat right now on the live stream say liberals are insane? Say me. Yes, liberals are insane. Let me see some participation in the chat down there. Do you believe that liberals are insane? There we go. That chat is getting flooded with comments right now. Liberals are insane. What does it mean to be insane? Let's talk about it. Repeating the same behaviors and expecting different results. Wow. Look at that chat go. Repeating the same behaviors and expecting different results. So let's talk about systemic racism real quick. We hear about systemic racism, right? We hear about, oh my goodness, these are terrible. The system is racist and it's holding back people of color. And the cops are racist, and this is racist, and that is racist. You know what? Can you just do me a favor? Every time we talk about systemic racism, like, let's talk about New York City. Let's talk about New York City. New York City is run by a Republican. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's run by Bill de Blasio. Seattle is run by a Republican. No, it's not. Chicago is not run by a Republican either. Neither is Philadelphia. Neither is Oakland or San Francisco or Portland or Detroit. Am I forgetting anything? Probably. Minneapolis. Oh, that's a big one. These places are all run by Democrats, and they're not just been run by Democrats for the last couple of years. They've been run by Democrats as long as some of these places have been run by Democrats for as long as 60, 70, 80, 90 years. Atlanta. Yeah. So if the system is racist, shouldn't we maybe think about who's running the system? Because the people running the system, if the system is racist, maybe they're the racists. You ever think about that? I know we have, but I'm talking to the idiots that are on the stream, because I know that there's liberals that watch, and idiots and trolls that watch the stream. Don't you think that maybe if we're dealing with a racist system, we should maybe talk about the people who are running it? And wouldn't you know it, the same people who are running these systems belong to the same party whose members founded the KKK, not the Republican Party, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Democrat Party. These people who are running the racist system belong to the same party that filibustered the civil rights movement, ladies and gentlemen, not the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. The same people who believe that the system is racist, that there is systemic racism, and that it is Republicans' fault or the right wing's fault. The same people who believe that the system is racist belong to a party who take Soviet words, Soviet terminology, Soviet phraseology like social justice. Ladies and gentlemen, the term social justice came from the Soviet Union, ladies and gentlemen. Did anybody know that? Fun fact. Fun fact. The term social justice, its origins come from the Soviet Union. Marxism. One of the most systemically and inherently racist systems that the world has ever seen. That the world has ever seen. So why are we taking these policies? Why are we crafting policies and doing it in the name of social justice, which has been a Soviet phrase and a Soviet term for years? We've known about it. Why are we doing this? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party is a communist party. The Democrat Party is an authoritarian, tyrannical party. The Democrat Party, much like Stalin's communist party, much like the Soviet Union, much like communist China, is a party that is centralized and focused on death. They are killing people. They do not have any regard for human life. And I'm not just talking about abortion laws. I'm not just talking about the vaccine mandates and the fact that in some cases people are having deadly reactions to the vaccine and how widespread that is. We haven't been able to really tell yet because the vaccine hasn't been out long enough to take a long case study. But the Democrat Party is hell-bent on death. Okay? They want to hype up how many people are dying from COVID. These people in the Democrat Party are the ones who sent positive COVID patients into nursing homes, despite the fact that floating ships were sitting on the Hudson River. Andrew Cuomo looking at you. Phil Murphy looking at you. Gretchen Whitmer looking at you. The Democrat Party is the party of death, ladies and gentlemen. The Democrat Party is hell-bent and obsessed with people dying. And that comes from Stalin, too, because they are inherently evil. They are an inherently evil party. And they leave no room while sitting there and championing the ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They leave no room for diversity of thought. Not even a slight variation of diversity of thought. Nothing. The party of evil, the party of death. That is what we are up against, folks. And now it is time to finally take a stand. I don't care differences. I don't care what the problem is. Unless you want to be controlled by the party of death, you take a stand this month and you take a stand on November 2nd. We have a lot of work to do in this state. And I have a lot of people who are saying New York's a lost cause. And a lot of people are the ones on the other side of the equation. They're saying, you know what? It's a lost cause. We got you. You're outnumbered. We are not outnumbered. There are more people in this world that believe and think the way we do. There are more people in this country and there are more people in this state who have common sense, who want to be afforded their opportunity to express and exercise their unalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You know why the Democrats don't cite the Declaration of Independence? You know why the Democrats don't cite Thomas Jefferson? Because the very first unalienable right is the right to life, and the Democrats hate life. But ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you something. And I'm very angry this morning because of this, because of where we can see the country going, because of what the hell is going on. We don't have to yell and scream at them. You know, I heard Andrew Wilkow make a very interesting analogy, an interesting idea. You know, it's a tug of war, right? But what happens if you let go of the rope? They go flying. I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to let go of the rope in some circumstances. You know what? The Democrats want to crash the economy. It's not our fault. I said this when we lost Georgia. Once we lost the Senate, anything that happens now, it's not going to be our fault. And it's not our fault. And the numbers are showing. New York City restaurants and bars, down 40 to 60%. What do you think of that? Wow. Are you surprised that a restaurant or a bar or a movie theater or an indoor event venue is down in business because they have to turn people away? Wow. I wonder how long this policy is going to go on for in New York City. And someone's got to ask Eric Adams what he's going to do about that. You know what? Someone needs to ask Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa tomorrow. Someone's got to do it today. Curtis, are you going to repeal the vaccine mandate? Eric, are you going to repeal the vaccine mandate? Because you know what? It's time we start asking these people these tough questions. Because this issue matters. Freedom matters. Liberty matters. And right now, your freedoms and your liberties are under attack in New York City. And you've got an election in less than a month. You've got an election in less than a month. And we're going to be out there in District 19, October 16th, one day before Montauk, helping Vicky Palladino out over there. And I'll get you information on that. We're going to be doing a lot of things in a lot of places over the next month. There's going to be a lot of places to go to do things. On October 16th, we're probably going to be in Queens. We'll also be doing some stuff out here for Ray Tierney and Dominic Thorne. Regarding the proof of vaccine that they need to answer at his restaurant, it is as smart as my 1983 driver's permit. My daughter, 13, can print out one of those fakes on her bedroom printer, and you want me to question the customers if this card is legitimate when every one of them is pretty much written in pen. Not only are these mandates ineffective, but they're actually impossible to detect these fakes. Now, am I going out there and telling anybody to use fake vaccine cards? No, I am not. But New York City is going to crash and burn even more than it's already crashed and burned if these policies continue. And it's not just limited to New York, guys. And it's not just limited to the black community, folks. In Texas, Texas, where the Democrats have continued to say that we're going to flip it. Democrats going to flip Texas. Beto O'Rourke. Remember Beto O'Rourke, gun grabber? Beto O'Rourke, the skateboarder. Oh, yeah, man. I'm in the Whataburger parking lot. I'm skateboarding. Woohoo! Beto O'Rourke, the fake Hispanic. You know what his real name? Robert Francis O'Rourke. Another one. There's another one. The Democrats can't pass their own tests, right? Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, tells the world she's a Native American for a long time. Makes a nice career out of it. Grifts really hard off of saying, my papa had high cheekbones. Pocahontas, okay? We're talking about Pocahontas. Beto O'Rourke coming out. Remember when he came out in the debate, started speaking Spanish? He thought that was going to win him points. Texas isn't buying it. Biden's popularity plummets among Texas Hispanics. A Quinnipiac poll shows the heavily Hispanic region of South Texas has less and less confidence in the Biden administration, particularly in regions along the U.S.-Mexico border. Shocker! Who the hell would have thought they'd be happy about the fact that there's 60,000 migrants headed from Mexico towards the southern border? And this was not happening under President Donald Trump. Remember racist President Donald Trump? They said his policies were racist. Well, then how come the Border Patrol, remember the whips hoax, right? The Border Patrol never had any incidents like that under the Trump presidency, right? We never heard about whips on the border under the Trump presidency, right? You know why? Because we actually had a border under the Trump presidency. We actually had order on the border. You can't spell border without order. That's interesting. Ding, ding. A Quinnipiac poll released Tuesday showed the heavily Hispanic region of South Texas continued to have less and less confidence in the Biden administration. According to the poll, since June 2021, Biden's approval rating in Texas has gone down sharply from 45% to 32%. At the same time, his disapproval rating surged from 50% to 61%. Nate Cohn, he's from, I believe, the New York Times. He's a pollster. Biden's approval rating among Texas Hispanics is at 36%. in the latest Quinnipiac poll with a 26% approval on his handling of the border. Hispanics. I thought we were told that these lax open border policies were good for Hispanics. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are in a serious amount of trouble here. Because if they lose the minority communities, if they lose minority voters, they lose, period. End of story. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and now everybody is starting to become wise to the fact that the Democrats are not trying to advance equity or equality, which they seem to think is the same word, despite the fact that they're two different words, so they have two different meanings. Equality, affording people the equality of the same opportunity. Equity, trying to guarantee everybody the same outcome. Socialism generally promotes equity, right? Everybody needs to have the same outcome. Everybody makes the same amount of money, right? Equity. You know what? And equality. We're all equal. We're all equitable in poverty in socialism. The dollar is tanking. Better start buying Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Better start buying gold. Get that money out of USD, because USD ain't going to be worth you know what in a little bit of time. If this type of spending continues, if this amount of money printing continues, the value of the dollar is tanking. Overwhelmed agents, back to the article, work 6-day work weeks at more than 10 hours a day, dealing with over 14,000 primarily Haitian migrants camped under the international bridge since has been disbanded. DHS sent additional agents on horseback, supplies and medical assistance, and increased deportation flights in an attempt to stop migrants from entering the United States while contending with divisive rhetoric from the Biden administration. Border Patrol agents expressed their frustrations with them, claiming the president deflected from his inability to control the situation at the southern border. Border apprehensions are up nearly 500% over last year, totaling more than 1.3 million more people than the population of 9 U.S. states. Approximately 9,700 illegal apprehensions have prior criminal convictions, with cartels and traffickers making $14 million a day moving people illegally across the border. Where's Joe Biden? Where's Kamala Harris? Willie Brown's true toy, as Andrew Wilkow calls her? Willie Brown's true toy. Shout out Andrew Wilkow. Where are they? Where are they? Nowhere to be found. The Democrat Party has abandoned the United States of America. They've abandoned what we were founded on, what this country was founded on. They've abandoned all of that. As a matter of fact, they're trying to intentionally erase it. They're trying to intentionally destroy it. They're using state media now. They're using the same tactics that we saw Stalin use, that we saw Adolf Hitler use, that we've seen Maduro use, that we've seen tyrants use, China, North Korea. They're using the exact same tactics, the exact same plays from those playbooks to do what they did in those countries right here. They're destroying the United States of America, and they're gaslighting everybody. They're not telling you the real story, to the point where, look, remember fiery but mostly peaceful protests? Remember that crap? Remember that? Remember that? Fiery but mostly peaceful protest. You had the CNN reporter out there. Well, it's generally peaceful, but the AutoZone was on fire behind him. Well, something worse happened this weekend at Talladega. I hope you guys heard about this. The chant that has been sweeping the nation at the college football games. You guys know what I'm talking about, the chant, right? The chant where they're so how do I put this nicely? They're so they chant in disapproval of Sleepy Joe Biden, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? What chant that is, right? You heard the chant at Talladega, and the guy, Brandon Brown, he was being interviewed. The kid's never won a race before. He's standing in front, they're interviewing him, and all of a sudden you hear that same chant coming from the stands in Talladega, and you hear it. FJB, baby, you hear it. You hear it, and you have an NBC reporter, like the Baghdad Bob, Joe Biden, Democrat Party suckling that she is, say, oh, don't you hear the chants? They're saying, let's go, Brandon. Are you kidding me? So not only are you lying to the guy that you're interviewing, who he could clearly tell that's not what they're saying, but you're lying to the people watching the TV. You're lying to the people who you're broadcasting to. You're lying to the audience that is trusting you. All you have to do is tell them a story. This kid won the race. Oh, sorry, Brandon. The crowd is chanting something a little obscene. Let's try and get through that. Don't tell everybody they're chanting something completely different, but she's trying to do damage control for the president of the United States. And not once has any of the media, not even Fox, done anything like that to protect Donald Trump when that man had done all he did was try to make America great again. All he did, these 4 words, was advance patriotism and pride in the United States of America over those 4 years. And what did they do? They slammed him with fake hoaxes, fake Russia hoaxes, Covington Catholic hoaxes. Remember the kid in the Make America Great Again hat, Nicholas Sandmann? Remember him? He smirked when that guy got in his face, Nathan Phillips, with the drum, and they said the kid was being racist. Remember that? Yeah, well, he won a lot of money from doing that. Remember that? Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace, the Charlottesville hoax, the Russia hoax. Remember that? Impeachment. All of that. It was all fake. They're all lies. All these people are doing are lying, okay? And that is why what we're doing here at the America First Media Campus is we're going to redefine media. We're going to give you real media. We're going to give you honest media. We're going to give you unbiased media. We're going to give you essentially the information. And guess what? As good, intelligent, patriotic Americans, you're going to do with that information what you see fit. You're going to take that information and make your own decisions. You know why? Because you can. Because that's what country we live in. This is the United States of America, where we believe in freedom. We believe in liberty. Government can make suggestions. They can make encouragements. They can do whatever the hell they want. But when they start mandating things and talking like they're some sort of divine figure, Kathy Hochul, be my apostle. God wants you to take the vaccine. Who the hell do you think you are? And on November 2nd, we need to vote. And on November 2nd, please, ladies and gentlemen, bring out your friends to vote and flip the goddamn ballot over, because on the backside of that ballot, there are provisions and referendums on things like unsolicited mail-in ballots in the state of New York, things like same-day registration in the state of New York. Fired up a little bit this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Fired up because we are watching this country get destroyed right in front of our eyes. And it is up to us now over the course of the next month going into this election, and over the course of the following 12 months going into our governor's election and into the midterms on a national level, to wake people up and say, if you want things to actually get better, don't vote for the liar who's telling you build back better. Don't listen to the liar who's telling you he's got your best interests. We're going to build back better. $1.2 trillion. I wrote the bill. It is time to declare political war. Political, ideological, not physical. No violence. It is no violence. One more time. No violence. But it is time to draw the line in the sand. I've already drawn my line in the sand. A lot of people have already drawn their lines in the sand. The vaccine was, the mandates were those lines, and those lines have been crossed by the government. Medical freedom was a line in the sand that was crossed by government, and a lot of people are upset. And I know a lot of moderate Democrats and a lot of people who I've just seen, heard from, and whatever, who I know voted for Sleepy Joe because he wasn't Donald Trump, because they fell for the media garbage. They got gaslit into voting for Sleepy Joe Biden, and now they realize they made an epic mistake. You've got federal workers who are being persecuted here. They're being targeted for not getting a vaccine. They're being fired, terminated, and suspended without pay. Meanwhile, people who haven't worked since March of 2020 are being paid to stay home. Doctors nurses, the heroes at the beginning of this pandemic. And by the way, they're still heroes. And you know what? You don't even need a pandemic for these people to be heroes because they're out there all the time taking care of our sick, all the time taking care of our wounded. You've got our veterans, our military servicemen and women, whether they're active or they're veterans, being purged from the military, being abandoned in Afghanistan. You've got our police officers and first responders. You've got our teachers, the good ones that are still left. Everybody in the line of fire of this government. And we were told we're going to build back better. Well, I don't think anybody's doing better right now. I'm sorry, folks. I don't think anybody's doing better except the rich liberal elites. You know who's doing better? Jeffrey Bezos, launching rockets into outer space. You know who's doing better? Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey. Because they're clamped onto the teat of government right now. And not just our government, but the Chinese Communist Party as well. You got healthcare workers here that are being replaced by National Guardsmen, which, by the way, when you're in the National Guard, that's not your job. You do something else and you're in the National Guard. So if you remove healthcare workers, replace them with people in the National Guard, those people from the National Guard are going to be deployed to the hospitals. What about the jobs that they're currently working? We have a labor shortage right now. People are being paid more to stay home. You've got cargo ships that are all outside the United States, can't get in. You guys wanted socialism. It's coming. It is coming. Bare shelves are coming. Inflation, Bidenflation, even more is coming. Remember, I said prices are higher now than Hunter Biden after a night with Parmesan cheese, okay? All right, one more hate hoax, and then we're out of here. I love hate hoaxes, and I love to show you how the media is lying. This comes from Blaze. It's in the show notes. I'm going to run through this. Hate hoax. White KKK member making racially motivated threats. That sounds bad, right? That sounds really bad. I don't accept that. I don't condone that. White hate hoax. White KKK member making racially motivated threats to burn down houses and kill neighbors turns out to be a black woman. Oh, my goodness. There's no way that could be true. Let's read the article. Let's see what this says. A Georgia neighborhood was terrorized by a person claiming to be a white male member of the Ku Klux Klan. However, there's always a however. Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear one of these racially motivated things, give it a few days. Give it some time to let the story come out before we jump on it. And I'm talking to the trolls too, because you always look like idiots with the egg on the face. Not our people, but the trolls. However, police now say that the person making racially motivated threats to burn down houses in the neighborhood and kill people is actually a black woman. Last December, residents of the Brookmont subdivision of Douglasville began receiving racially charged letters in their mailboxes. The handwritten notes claimed to be from a 6-foot-tall white male with a long red beard who was a member of the KKK. The notes threatened to burn down their houses and kill them and said that they didn't belong in the neighborhood, said Detective Nathan Schumacher. The notes, which used the N-word and talked about hanging people, were received by at least 7 black residents in the suburb about 25 miles from Atlanta, according to WGCL-TV. The Douglasville Police Department said the investigation started by detectives going door to door to check doorbell cameras and gather whatever information they could from the residents. They also handed out flyers to residents about the racially motivated threats. The letters, which were delivered in the middle of the night, stopped in January but picked up again in February and March. An alarmed resident alerted local media to the story, and the letters stopped again until the final letter was delivered on September 6th. Detective Andre Futch and Schumacher determined that the letters had, quote, similar handwriting, tone, and verbiage with some distinctive letters that were consistent throughout. On September 6th, law enforcement found evidence linking the terroristic letters to the home of Tarisha Lucas, a 30-year-old black female. The detectives gathered enough evidence to obtain a search warrant. During the search, detectives found other evidence that tied the suspect to the threatening notes. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have the prevailing thought in this neighborhood that a 6-foot-tall white man with a red beard claiming to be in the KKK is going around threatening to burn people's houses down and kill people, kill black residents, and the person who was doing that was a black person themselves. Yet, you will hear that people like Vernon Jones are the traitors. Yet, you will hear that people like Jonathan Isaac on the Orlando Magic, he's a race traitor, when you actually have a black person going door to door threatening to kill other black people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:01 in the morning. We have flown through this episode, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves. But if this evidence does not prove to you that you cannot trust a word that the media is telling you, if this evidence does not prove to you that you cannot trust a word that comes from the Democrat Party, if this evidence, whether it's Jussie Smollett, Covington Catholic, Charlottesville, Bubba Wallace, any of this, and now this idiot, this hate hoax here in Georgia, if this does not prove to you that the real racists reside among the left of this country, that the real racists reside within the Democrat Party in this country, if that does not fire you up to want to get out and vote your asses off on November 2nd this year, I don't know what will. But if it doesn't fire you up, we need to find a way to fire you up. Because if we don't get out and get this done this month and next year, we will lose our country. It is do or die time. And it's time to do. Because I don't want to die. Thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We will not comply. We have a tough fight on our hands. We have an uphill battle to climb. We have an uphill battle to fight. But the United States of America has not lost a war yet. And this war is within. It's an ideological war. It's a cold war with the left. Although it's not so cold anymore. It's heating up really, really quick. We've never lost a war yet. And we're not going to lose this one. In the face of government overreach, tyrannical mandates imposing their will on your freedoms and liberty. What do we say to people like Kathy Hochul? What do we say to people like Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi? What do we say to people like Sleepy Joe Biden in the face of tyranny? We say the 4 words that we repeat over and over and over again until they get it. We say these 4 words that we're going to continue to echo over and over and over again so that we can put a stop to the intentional destruction of the United States of America. The 4 words that we will continue to scream from every mountaintop until these people realize that they will never win. We will not comply. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Check us out on Podbean. We will not comply.podbean.com. The audio, obviously the video is going to be posted everywhere. Sign up for the newsletter, loudmajorityus.com or officialloudmajority.com. I'll be sending out the show notes later. We will not be streaming on Wednesday. We'll be back on Friday morning. Thank you guys so much for listening, and stay